Now we are going to review complex and compound complex sentences. Remember, dependent clauses always begin with a word like one of these that I've listed here. The relative pronouns that introduce the adjective clauses, so those are like who, whom, whose, which, and that. You've got the subordinating conjunctions that introduce the adverb clauses, after, although, as, because, before, if, since, unless, then, until, when, where, while, rather than, whichever, as much as, whereas, now that, even though, wherever. And you've also got words that introduce noun clauses: how, if, that, what, whatever, when, whenever, where, wherever, whether, who, whoever, whom, whose, and why. Now, you may notice that some of these words are on more than one list, but here's the important thing, and this may be the single most important thing from the entire chapter. If you have a whole sentence, you have a complete sentence, you've got an independent clause, but you put one of these words at the beginning of it, you have just turned that into a sentence fragment. If you have something that begins with one of these words, you are also going to have a complete sentence with it, an independent clause with it. Otherwise, it's a sentence fragment. Now, let's look at compound complex sentences. Let's think about it. Complex sentences have, the thing that makes them complex is that they have a dependent clause. It's like a simple sentence that has a dependent clause, or maybe more than one dependent clause. A compound complex sentence, it's like a compound sentence that has a complex part. It has a dependent clause in it. So let's look at these sentences. Okay, for example, so this one has one independent clause and at least one dependent clause. And if you took out all the dependent clauses from it, you'd have a simple sentence. Let's look at this one. I went to the store after I ate lunch. This I went to the store, that's the independent part. After I ate lunch, that begins with one of these words up here. And it's got a subject and a verb, so it's a clause. After I ate lunch, that's the dependent clause. If I took that part out and said, I went to the store, look, I have a simple sentence now, all right? And then for compound complex sentences, they've got to have more than one independent clause. If they only have one, they're a complex sentence. And it has to have at least one dependent clause. It doesn't matter how many dependent clauses you have. If you have at least one, your sentence is either complex or compound complex. All right, if you took out all of the dependent clauses, it would still be a compound sentence and have two complete sentences. So this one, after I ate lunch, there's the dependent part. I went to the store and I bought food. Independent is I went to the store, I bought food. That's also independent. Now, if I took out this after I ate lunch so that I just have I went to the store and I bought food, then what happens? You have two complete sentences, two independent clauses, and now you have just a plain old compound sentence. It's the complex part that changes it to a compound complex sentence.